Hi everybody, I'm Al.
Okay, so that just had such a wide range of genres really. You had a lot of comedy, you had the romance, and of course the sci-fi. What kind of influenced you to make such a diverse and unique story?
I figured I was probably only ever going to get to make one movie in my entire life, so it should really be a greatest hits of everything. All my influences thrown into a blender. Yeah, no, that's actually kind of true. But no, I just, I love a lot of different kinds of movies, and I wasn't necessarily conscious that I decided I wanted to do something that ticks so many boxes. Actually, ticking a lot of boxes has been sort of problematic in terms of conveying to people what the movie is, because because it's a lot of different things. But no, I just wanted to tell you, I just love all these genres. I love science fiction, I love romance, I love comedy, and it just seemed like the story. I wanted a story that could just do a lot of things, and yeah, there was a chance, it was total fluke that it takes on, but I don't know. Beggars can't be choosers. This was the idea I had. I thought it was good, and it just happened to tick all these boxes. So that was.
So how did you come up with the character of Joel?
Well, I like character. I like protagonists who are kind of. First of all, I wanted to make him sympathetic. And when I had the idea, it would be very easy for this character to be kind of marginalized and kind of written off as a weirdo. But I wanted to do. I wanted the audience to identify with the weirdo, which is you don't see that very often. Usually, it's like. You have the psychiatrist, Maria might have been the main character, and it might have been her about dealing with this weird guy, or it might have been a psychiatrist trying to get under his skin, which K-Pax was like. But I wanted to do it that this main character with this person believes he was an alien was relatable. So it's just making them likable, and I felt it would facilitate the audience going on the journey with them, so that you could learn what he learns when he learns it, and. Yeah, the key for that was that he'd be funny, but not alienate the audience. No pun intended. But yeah, that was the main thing with Joe, that he would be likable and sort of innocent and funny, and that he can't take something like this too seriously, because it's a bit silly, really. So I also wanted to acknowledge the humor and be fun. So that's kind of where he came from.
Now you mentioned K-Pax. What other kind of movies influenced you to write this?
A lot of people say, "Oh, so you're a big fan of K-Pax." I hadn't actually seen K-Pax when I wrote this. You might have realized it's still K-Pax. No, it's not at all. I always felt that I was okay there because K-Pax is that thing I described, where he's a weirdo. He's not the main character, and it's like Jeff Bridges is the main character, and it's from his perspective. I felt that I was on safe enough ground there because this was an original angle. But a big influence actually was a movie I saw in the 90s called Don Juan DeMarco, with Johnny Depp and Marlon Brando. That made a big impact on me because it was all about how we employ fantasy in life, and how there are huge benefits to indulging in fantasy, and how it can influence our reality in a positive way. That kind of debate between what has value. Fantasy being something that's not value. It's not just escapism. It's just not just nonsense. It has its place. Once it's a healthy balance struck, and I found that kind of an interesting debate. That was kind of a bigger influence on it. And also I just wanted to make a science fiction movie. I didn't have enough money to make a proper one, so I had to be sort of a joke science fiction movie. But that's.
Now you've got such a superb cast. You just effortlessly put through comedy.
Seems like a neat segue to you.
Please continue.
But also balance, of course, science fiction, which is quite hard to do, because like you said, a lot of people don't take it seriously. It's not enough. Was your casting process quite easy, or did you find it really difficult to find the right people to?
It was actually finding the right person to play Joe was very difficult. That presented a lot of problems. That's a lot of. It's funny when you write a script and you think this is pretty good, yeah, and then you have lots of people audition for the roles, and you hear your words from people who aren't suited to the part, and it's horrible. It just seems like it just seems crap. It just seems like this is. I thought this script was good, and now I'm really wondering if it doesn't suck. Joe was particularly hard to cast, very, very difficult. The Maria character was actually very easy. We saw Jenn quite early in the process, and she was our favourite. but I was kind of reluctant to cast Maria until I cast Joe. So unfortunately, you kind of had to wait. But it was always your part. You just had to wait for me to make up my mind, get the right Joe, which is probably very frustrating for you. But yeah, Joe was very difficult. A lot of the other characters I think Joe was the main one. Everybody else was fairly easy. Yeah, you do need people who are going to take it seriously, but also see the humor in it. So yeah, no, mostly it was pretty easy. Yeah.
With Maria, she's quite a unique leading lady character, to be honest, because she's of course beautiful, but then she has the whole interest in science fiction, which you don't really see on the screen these days with girls. How was that to play that kind of role? Did that attract you to the script?
Yeah, it was great. What attracted me was the writing. I just thought it was brilliant, and the characters just came off the page, and the subtlety of it, and how genuine it was. It wasn't so much like I really want to play that character, it was just I wanted to be part of this script with all these people that are so passionate. That was pretty amazing. And also I hadn't done comedy before. I mean, I love comedy, but I always play like psycho, so I kind of thought this would be a good career move if I could get it. And I'm happy to get it.
And of course with Phil, you kind of enter the film as a minor hilarious character, and then enter the film literally on just a very pivotal moment. What was that, playing that kind of role where you're kind of in it and then you're not and then you are again?
Well, it was, how did we do it? We did it over 2 days, and how it felt was when I first met Alan during do you remember this?
Yeah.
During the audition.
Yeah.
Although he was the coolest dude ever, because I was touring, I do stand-up and stuff, so I was on the road doing that, so I didn't get to read the script, and I come in and usually I'd bullshit, I'd go, oh, it's great, and you're marvellous, and wow, it was beautiful. But I just couldn't have been arsed that morning, so I turned it down. I haven't read it, mate, but the scene, and he didn't give a shit. He was like, cool, man, yeah, no worries, just read it there. He was so nonplussed that he was like, I don't give a shit, you don't give a shit, I'm really get on that day. And that was it.
He didn't even have to read the lines. It's like.
Yeah, and then I think he just wanted to kill me, which he did. The blood and everything, it was great. You got a real buzz out of that, didn't you? He tripped on a wire and kicked me at one point. Well, it wasn't an accident. Anyway.
You must have had so much fun playing around with like the toys he had in the film, along with the special effects. What was it like when you watched the film when it was completed for the first time and you saw the visual effects? Was it weird seeing your story come to life?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a slow process that I didn't really get to. It was only actually at this kind of sort of the sound mix stage. I think that's the only point at which you actually get back to sit back and enjoy it as a movie. Until then, it's like, oh, this isn't working, or that isn't finished, that isn't finished. So you don't really get to enjoy it until very, very late. I got to enjoy it, but yeah, when the music is put on, the sound effects, the sound mix, that's when it becomes a movie. Until then, it's just, this is just, I don't even know if this is a movie, this is going to work at all. You really don't know if it's going to work until then. Until every layer is on, you don't know. So yeah, I can't remember which question was. Does that answer your question?
It will do, it'll be fine. Now, aside from keeping John on set, were there any major difficulties while making Earthbound?
I mean, there were no specific, but I mean, it was, we had 20 days to shoot it, which is, the old problems, not enough time, not enough money, and the project was hugely ambitious for the circumstances under which it was made. So, those problems, and the fact that I was a first timer, I had no balls in the ocean what I was doing was also a day-to-day problem for me. But I hid it from people quite convincingly, it seems. We just had to get through a lot. So it was one day we shot 11 pages of script, which is an insane amount of stuff to do. Maybe in TV you could do, TV you do that, but for feature film that's really grueling. You really have to be, you just have to tear through it. And I think we got away with it. I think, but that was probably the toughest thing was the budget and schedule. We're very, you know, and it was hugely ambitious, and I didn't really notice. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask the producer at what point you got on board with the project, because you haven't said a single word. I'm sure you don't just look pretty.
I got a text from Alan 6 weeks before the deadline because you had to team up for this course to enter with the project. So I got this text. I was at a festival in Ireland, and it says, "I have an idea, Heidi. It's about a guy that thinks he's an alien." And I said, "Like, that sounds great." And then we submitted it, and that was in 2007. So it's been a long ride, but very interesting and tough and fun.
And how difficult or how easy was it to get the funds to make the film? If you can tell more about that process.
It wasn't easy. We got shortlisted for the micro-budget program, but they thought it was too ambitious for 250
grand, yeah. And they were
€250,000. So I think the budget were about €1 million. Hopefully it looks like more. But like Alan mentioned, there's different boxes. It's not pure sci-fi. It's not a real rom-com, you know. And people like to put things in boxes, especially sales agents. Who's the audience? Where's the market and stuff? So I think for that made it difficult. But also I think that was the charm of the project. That's what I was attracted to, you know, that I haven't seen a film like this. It was very interesting. So it's funded out of Ireland, 100%, which is pretty good because it's a small country and the funds are not so big. So it's kind of a tax break, the film board, and a bit of gap funding from the exec producers.
Growing up, I read a book called I Am the Cheese, which was slightly less ridiculous than it sounds. And it was along the similar sort of veins as yours. It was a child dealing with the loss of his parents. And there was a reveal that undermined it. But that was the end of the story. And I thought it was brilliant how you built it back up afterwards in that curveball. But were you ever tempted to leave a question in the audience's mind at the end of the day as to whether or not it was still sort of in his mind, so to speak?
Not really. I mean, for me, if he didn't turn out to be an alien at the end, I think I would have hated this movie.
I agree. Yeah, I
would
would
have
have
hated it. You know, yeah, I would have. I sort of respect, but I would have gone depressed. And you know, why did I? And there was this movie. There's a movie in the 90s called the John Travolta movie called Phenomenon. I don't know if you ever saw. I remember thinking, it was like, oh yeah, because he thinks he's seen it. For people who haven't seen it, he's not quite Forrest Gump level of intelligence, but he's not much smarter. And then he sees a light in the sky, and it knocks him out. And he wakes up the next morning, and he's super intelligent, and he can't sleep, and he seems to almost have telekinetic powers. And then it turns out he has a brain tumor, and he dies. And that's the movie.
I was definitely thinking of that when I was watching this.
Yeah, what were they thinking? I remember watching the movie going, they find out he's a brain tumor, and thought, oh, okay, they're going to play this off like it's going to turn out. But what's going to happen is the aliens are going to come to him, they're going to say, our experiment on you has caused a brain tumor. You are still like, you have superpowers, but this is a side effect. And the only way to save you is for you to come to our planet. And I was like, oh, it's going to be really beautiful, like Close Encounters ending. And then he dies. So I kind of thought, you know, sometimes you watch movies and you go, if they had done this, it would have been a lot better. And maybe nobody's done, maybe I'll just steal that structure. And with this, I kind of wanted my cake and eat it too. I wanted it to do a thing where you could, you had the scenario and you deal with the reality of it. And I wanted Joe to, you know, end up in a place where he has dealt with it, he's absorbed the reality of his situation, but he's taken the good from the fantasy and carried it into his real life. So he's got, you know, he's at the end, before Maria is kidnapped, he is going back to confess his love. Like everything could have worked out and been a happy ending. And I wanted to earn that ending. But I also want him to turn out to be an alien. I want my cake and eat it too. So I wanted to work on both levels. But in terms of ambiguity, I didn't want it to be absolutely 100% definitive. I wanted there to be a little bit. For me, he's an alien, 100%. But you know, I do have. Like the pod doesn't land in a playground, things like that. I wanted people who want to read it a certain way, because I didn't want it to completely dictate to the audience. This is the end. This is what it means. This is my final statement. I wanted them to, you know, be in a position where they have to project some of themselves onto the movie. You know, you can tell a lot about a person by, because some people say, oh yeah, I like the way, you know, it was on his head and it was sort of tragic. So, okay, it kind of says a lot about the people. I mean, another influence is Pan's Labyrinth, which is a fantastic movie. But I know people who watch Pan's Labyrinth and say, oh, it's a really happy ending. It turns out that she is a princess from this wonderful land. She's reunited with her mother and her father and her kingdom, and it's great. I watch it and I go, no, she was murdered during the Spanish Civil War, and this was the fantasy she created to cope with it. I don't know what that says about me, what it says about them, but I always wanted to have a little bit of leeway so that you can have that. So it's I wanted a little bit of ambiguity, but if you're totally on the fence, then you just make a decision. Come on, push it on. Come on, make us.
Quite clearly he's an alien, isn't he?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your answers. As hilarious as they all were, and I know we all enjoyed the film because we're all still here. It would have run away by now, I think. And I think another round of applause for everyone here.